Good morning. Welcome to the 2023 Veterans Day Assembly. We appreciate each and every one of you being here today. Please welcome our principal, Dr. Katie O'Quinn. Good morning to everyone and welcome to our 2023 Veterans Day Recognition Assembly. First, I would like to remind all of our students and our community members that today's ceremony is one of the utmost respect and decorum. This is a time for us to set aside the distractions of our world and honor those that have put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms. During this time, I ask that every student and every adult please remain quiet and respectful of this time, striving to limit any and all distractions. Please use this time as a time for learning and reflection, and use it as an opportunity to pay our respects for our veterans, both near and far. Before we get started, I would like to thank everyone that had a hand in helping to make sure that today was a success. There are lots of people, and I was afraid that if I named them off individually, I would surely forget several. So from the city to the school, our students, our leadership team, our choir, our band, everybody in between, I want to thank them for helping us put this on, for the partnership with the city. We appreciate this opportunity to bring our students here, to bring our community here, and to recognize our veterans. While we continue to use November 11th as a day to commemorate the end of the First World War, we also use it as a day to honor and recognize the hundreds of thousands of men and women who have stepped up to serve our country and protect our freedoms regardless of the cost. So why do you celebrate Veterans Day? For some of you, it's because you had grandparents that served, or you have active duty moms or dads. You might have siblings that have served in the past or are currently serving. And still many of you may not know a family member who is a veteran, but you understand that without their service and their sacrifice, we would not know the freedoms that we have today. I recognize Veterans Day not only because of my deep admiration for the freedoms that we have, but for the sacrifice and the service of those closest to me. Both of my grandfathers served, and my own father, who is here today, served as an airman in the Navy, completing 3 tours in Vietnam. I could go on with the other family members and friends who have donned the uniform over the years, but the point is that I have a deep and close connection to the people who are willing to give their life and defend my freedom. It is the reason that I try to thank every veteran that I knowingly come into contact with. It is the reason that I do not take for granted my daily freedoms. It is the reason that I tear up at the playing of taps, or respect the quietness of a war-scarred veteran, or I swell with pride at opportunities like this, where our students and our community come together to recognize the sacrifice of our veterans. So as we go on today and hear the stories and honor those that are here and those that are not, I ask that you take this time as a time of reflection as we honor our veterans here in Lafayette County. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. O'Quinn. Lebanon High School is pleased to present today's assembly in partnership with the Lebanon Veterans Memorial Board. Please welcome board member Donna Mason.
First thing I'd like to do, because the Veterans Board would be nothing without our veterans. I'm the only one on that board that is not an actual veteran, but I am married to a disabled veteran. And I'd like for them to stand right now just for the, we take care of the things that are out there, the helicopter, the tank. That was our responsibility to get those things here. I'd like for our board members to stand. I just want to give just a little history of what the colors mean on the flag. According to custom and tradition, white signifies purity and innocence, red hardiness and valor, blue signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice.
and Ghana. The colors today are presented by the 14th Military Police Brigade Color Guard. Please remain standing until they have left the room and the pledge has been recited. As a sign of respect, remain silent through the whole presentation of the colors. At this time, we ask all to stand for the presentation of the colors.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as the LHS Chamber Choir sings our national anthem, directed by Mr. Max Jackson. Thank you, Mr. Jackson and the LHS Chamber Choir. Please be seated. We are honored to have our mayor here today. Please welcome Mayor Carr.
Good morning. Today, as we gather to honor our veterans, I'm deeply moved and honored to stand among you, reflecting on the immeasurable sacrifices made by those who served our nation. Today in our community, we gather to pay tribute to the valor, dedication, and selflessness of our veterans, whose service resonates across generations, defining the very fabric of our community. Lebanon's commitment to our veterans is steadfast, and this is evident in the tireless efforts we've made over the past few years to enhance the Veterans Memorial Park. We've proudly installed military static equipment as a solemn tribute to the courageous men and women who have valiantly defended our freedom. This dedication symbolizes our ongoing pledge in the city of Lebanon to honor and commemorate the extraordinary service of our veterans. I want to extend my sincerest appreciation to our invaluable partners, the Lebanon R3 School District and the Lebanon Area Veterans Memorial Board. unwavering support and collaboration have been instrumental in making this Veterans Day ceremony a remarkable success. Your dedication to honoring our veterans is truly commendable. Today, we also mark a pivotal moment in history as we dedicate a significant historical marker. The first Fort Leonard Wood Area Black USO holds a place in our local history that is worth commemorating. It stands as a testament to resilience and the pursuit of unity in challenging times. In recognition of its significance, I invite the representatives from the St. Robert Historical Preservation Committee to stand as we acknowledge and applaud their invaluable efforts making this marker a reality. Additionally, you can view photos of the historic marker situated at the present-day Lebanon properties on your program, and I believe it's going to come up on the screen as well. For those interested in visiting the monument in person, it stands in Old Town, nestled off of Main Street between Catherine and Broadway Street. These images stand as a visual testament to the rich history we commemorate today. The story of this USO, which found its home in Lebanon during a time of adversity, speaks to the spirit of our community. While its time as a USO was short-lived, its legacy continued as it became a vital educational institution, the Willard T. Vernon Colored School, serving our community until 1958. As we stand at this historic juncture, let us recommit ourselves to honoring the memory of our veterans and acknowledging the rich tapestry of our local history. Let us pledge to uphold the values they fought to protect and ensure that their service is never forgotten. Thank you to our veterans for your service and to our community for coming together to honor and cherish these vital chapters of our collective story. Today, we honor our veterans, tomorrow, and always. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Carr. Next, we will be playing a tribute to our soldiers. We felt this symbolizes the sacrifice and hardship that not only they, but their families go through on a daily basis.
Since the dawn of our nation, brave citizens have answered the call to arms when the country was in danger. We hold our veterans in reverence for their courage, their sacrifice, and their honor and service to their fellow Americans. Generations of liberty's sons and daughters have gone into harm's way, manned the battlements, and sailed the seas to preserve freedom for all. Our nation owes a debt of gratitude we can never repay to those who have chosen to answer the call to arms. Today, we honor them and thank them for their service, for their dedication to our nation's preservation, and for their oath to the Constitution on which the foundation of our government rests. On this Veterans Day, we ask all Americans to honor the over 18 million veterans among us and thank them for their continued dedication to our country, our freedom, and our future.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Sorry about that. We have a little glitch, but we got it taken care of. We have a video that actually tells how we got our national anthem, and I think it's very informative, and it'll touch your heart.
was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. He said, man, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war's over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. He said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered. And you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly, the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb. And Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. The admiral said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees. The Admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned a song. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Lebanon High School Yellow Jacket Singers singing Two Brothers. I am now honored to introduce my grandpa, Sergeant First Class Jeffery Swalley. He served 20 years and 28 days in the Army. My grandpa has taught me many things, but above all, bravery. Please welcome Sergeant Swalley.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, students, special guests, and veterans. Thank you for all being here with me today to celebrate Veterans Day. As a veteran, I stand before you with a profound sense of pride, humility, and gratitude. I've been where many of you have been and our fellow service members, serving this great country with unwavering dedication, yet facing many challenges that come with it. Today I want to focus on the importance of Veterans Day, not only for the perspective of the veteran and VFW member, but also as a collective duty as we U.S. citizens share in honoring our veterans and ensuring that the true essence of Veterans Day is not forgotten. Veterans Day holds a special place for me in my heart, as it does for all veterans who have worn the uniform of our great country. It is that reminds us of the commitment we made to defend the principles of freedom, liberty, and justice. It is the day when we reflect on the time spent apart from our families, the bonds we formed with our brothers and sisters in arms, and sacrifices made both here and on foreign shores to protect the American way of life and strive to enjoy their own freedoms. Veterans Day is not merely just acknowledging our own service or expressing gratitude. It is about making Veterans Day a touchstone for understanding, education, and appreciation for all Americans. And I believe it is our job as veterans to help ensure that the significance of this day isn't lost in the noise of department store sales and just another day. We must work to remind our nation that Veterans Day is not just another day on the calendar. It's a profound reminder of not only the commitment and sacrifices of all of those who have served, but a painstakingly high cost of freedom they paid by whom have selflessly laid down their own lives and futures to protect ours. As veterans, we have witnessed to the hardship of war and conflict and the lasting impacts our service has had not only on ourselves, but also on our loved ones. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our comrades, facing adversity together and overcoming obstacles that at times seem unsurmountable. We have lost friends, experienced both physical and invisible wounds of war, and yet we continue to stand for the values that define our nation. Every American, no matter where they live or what they do, reap the benefits of the service and sacrifice of those who believe there is something greater than themselves. And while the debt we owe can never be repaid, commemorating Veterans Day is a start. It's a shared responsibility and an effort that ties all Americans, veterans, and non-veterans alike together. The true Veterans Day must be projected beyond parades, school assemblies, city ceremonies, and memorials. It's about telling the story of the veteran and the lessons we've learned. Every veteran takes away a different life lesson from his military service. And sharing that wisdom with America's youth is how we endure a brighter future for all. We must remind others the lives we live and the freedoms we enjoy come from a painful reminder of just how high the cost of freedom is. As a veteran, I am here to help ensure that the importance of Veterans Day is understood by all, and I encourage everyone here to engage in the tough conversations, to share your experiences, and participate in community events that raise awareness and honor our military veterans. We must make it our shared mission to educate future generations. That at its core, the American spirit is defined by resilience, selflessness, and commitment. Today, the world is often hyper-focused on our differences. And Veterans Day provides us an opportunity to remember that despite beliefs, lifestyles, our desire for a better life has always united us. Every veteran that has proudly worn the uniform of our nation has served alongside somebody who was different, had different belief systems, a different religion, a different upbringing. The list can go on and on, but yet all veterans put aside their differences to focus on the intrinsic values of freedom that allow all of us to be different. Today and every day, we are grateful for the American veteran. It is thanks to the American veteran that we're able to gather together and celebrate today. I leave you with a happy Veterans Day for each and every one of my fellow veterans, and a sincere, heartfelt thank you for your service and all the sacrifices you have endured for your country. Lastly, I'd like to thank God and my beautiful wife. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sergeant Swalley, for sharing your heartfelt words with us. Please join me in giving Sergeant Swalley one more round of applause and gratitude.
In addition to recognizing Sergeant Swalley, we would also like to recognize all of our guests. The LHS Wind Ensemble will be performing the service medley. We ask that any servicemen and women in the audience please stand when your branch has been played. Please stand when we say your name so you can be recognized, and remain standing until all staff members are recognized.
Timothy Budd. Mr. Budd served in the Air Force. When we asked him why he served, his response was, "I wanted an exciting career with medical, education, and requirement benefits." Thank you, Mr. Timothy Budd.
Staff Sergeant E6 Sarah DeBose. Ms. DeBose served in the Army National Guard. When we asked her why she served, her response was, "Help pay for college." Thank you, Ms. Sarah DeBose.
Casey Duke. Mrs. Duke served in the Air Force. When we asked her why she served, she responded with, "I served in the military to be part of the most vigorous military force in the world and do something that provided great meaning to my life. I wanted to help contribute what I could to help people in a huge way and for the freedoms we have within this great nation. I served to experience something that was bigger than myself." Thank you, Mrs. Casey Duke.
James Hurst. Mr. Hurst served in the U.S. Army. When we asked him what Veterans Day means to him, his response was, "A day to remember all the veterans that served in the military." Thank you, Mr. James Hurst.
Sergeant First Class Michael Kellner. Mr. Kellner served in the U.S. Army. When asked why he served, his response was, "My father served in the Army, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. I also wanted to pay off my student loans, which the military graciously offered in exchange for me spending 3 years driving tanks through various swamps and deserts around the world." Thank you, Mr. Michael Kellner.
Commander David Craig. Mr. Craig served in the Navy. When asked why he served, his response was, "It was a way to get a college degree free." Thank you, Mr. David Craig.
Staff Sergeant Greg Maurer. Mr. Maurer served in the Air Force. When asked why he served, his response was, "I wanted to provide service to a country and embark on my career path." Thank you, Mr. Maurer.
Staff Sergeant Laura Mudge. Ms. Mudge served in the U.S. Army. When we asked her why she served, her response was, "Being an Army musician means that I am the face of its past, present, and future. Every time I put on my uniform, I am the face of soldiers like my granddad, who was drafted in 1950 and sent to Germany during the Korean conflict. I'm the face of my former students who wear their uniforms proudly in austere deployed environments. I am the bridge between the American soldiers and our future Army every time I pick up my horn and play for a packed room of excited elementary students who will someday be or support our men and women in uniform." Thank you, Ms. Laura Mudge.
Lance Corporal Dalton Pierce. Mr. Pierce served in the Marine Corps. When asked why he served, his response was, "To give back to the country that has given me so much." Thank you, Mr. Dalton Pierce.
Jason Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds served in the U.S. Army. When we asked him why he served, his response was, "To get out of a small town and to serve my country." Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Major David Schmitz.
served in the U.S. Army. When asked why he served, his response was, "I served because I truly love the United States of America, and I wanted to honor my father by following in his footsteps." Thank you, Dr. David Schmitz.
Master Sergeant Scott Wilkerson. Mr. Wilkerson served in the Air Force. When asked why he served, his response was, "I liked airplanes and I thought it was cool to work on them. Then I realized the life experience was priceless." Thank you, Mr. Scott Wilkerson.
If you're a Lebanon School District staff member and your name was not read off and you have served or are you currently serving, please stand now. Join us in a round of applause to recognize our faculty who have served.
We want to give a huge thank you to all of you. Thank you for serving our country and also coming to school to serve us. We wouldn't be here without all of you, and we are extremely grateful for the sacrifices you have made for each and every person in this room.
Those who have served and those currently serving in the uniformed services of the United States are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and internment.
We call your attention to this small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as prisoners of war and missing in action.
We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families today, so we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence.
This table, set for one, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his or her suppressors.
The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single red rose in the base signifies the blood that many have shed and sacrificed to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose also reminds us that of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith while awaiting their return.
The yellow ribbon on the base represents the yellow ribbons worn on the lapels of the thousands who demand, with unyielding determination, a proper accounting of our comrades who are not among us today.
A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless volunteers of families as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this day. The chair is empty. They are not here.
The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope that lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors to the open arms of a grateful nation. Let us never forget and remember Let us remember and never forget their sacrifices. Please join us in a moment of silence.
Thank you.
The leadership class has been working very hard to honor the students who have decided to take their next step and serve our country. They put together a video to show their gratitude. As students are announced, they will walk across the stage and receive a rose. Please hold your applause until the end.
In the Army National Guard. compensated for all the great benefits that come along with it, and also you guys want to have some fun. Talk to me and or Gabriel Black and research your options. Do as much research as possible. At least do a week's worth of research before deciding what branch you enjoy, but I definitely recommend the Army National Guard for everyone.
The Army National Guard. Its pay is way better than the regular Army, and it's 10 times better than the Marine Corps. Research your options. It's not a good plan to just go with one branch because you think they're cool and go with that one. I always wanted to be a Marine. Actually, talk to recruiters and realize it's not the best option for me. So talk to recruiters, figure stuff out. Don't just go with one branch.
I listen to the Army National Guard. Mainly the benefits. Just talk to your recruiters and do your own research before you just jump in.
The Army National Guard. It has a lot of opportunity for free time, and you don't have to fully enlist and go in. Know your stuff before you go in, instead of just learning it all together.
I'm enlisting in the Army National Guard. I chose this brand because it works well for what I hope to do in the future. It's kind of part-time Army, and I only go for 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, and it just works really well for my schedule. I would say make sure to look into all of the opportunities there are with the military. For me, I'm getting my tuition paid for through the National Guard. There's a lot of other good benefits too if you don't want to join right now. Like ROTC is a really good thing to look into. And I just make sure to explore all of your options before you take anything out. National Guard. For weekly night college and all the benefits with it. Just do your research and talk to recruiters if you have any questions that you can ask them.
Lebanon High School, we are proud and honored to be a part of your milestone. Thank you, veterans and those who are serving in the military. We are forever grateful to you and to your families for all of your sacrifices. We could not be here without you.
If you are planning to enlist, please stand up so you may be recognized as well.
Yeah, we're already standing up.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now I would like to welcome our final speaker and the superintendent of Lebanon R3 School District, Dr. David Schmidt.
Thank you so much, fellow veterans. Thank you so much for being here today. It is an honor to have the privilege of being a part of this school district in this community that values and honors those who serve.
This is a great place to raise our kids, for them to see those who care so much about the military in general. I want to commend, would you join me commending our student leadership for putting on this amazing assembly? This really is a privilege for me to really wrap up what we talk about here today. And for fellow veterans, I heard your chuckles as our young soldiers walk by and have those perspectives, and they will change, and often for the better, I'm sure. But I often told my soldiers, and when I had the privilege to lead, was it is okay to expect a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. And for those who have served years and years and years, it is absolutely true that there are benefits to service, but there are costs to service as well. That's why they call it service. And I'm honored to have the privilege to perhaps add a little perspective to all of us. And students, 2,500 of you, I'm talking to you because I want to provide perspective about this day. We have, as a nation, been in existence for over 248 years. And in the past 248 years, ranging from the American Revolutionary War, which we saw a great video talking about, to service members as we speak, there have been over 41 million men and women who've served our country. Put that into perspective. 41 million have agreed to raise their hand, swear an oath of allegiance and service to our country. World War II represented 16 million in and of itself, which is remarkable. So, what is a veteran? We've talked about it. Even the U.S. Census Bureau talks about veterans and does data research on veterans. And I'm going to read just a moment here what it says about veterans throughout history. They've included Green Mountain Boys, Buffalo Soldiers, Tuskegee Airmen, women Air Force service pilots, Screaming Eagles and Green Berets, and I could go on and on and on. They are the men and women who served their country at home and abroad, on land, on sea, and air. And since 1973, everyone who serves of their own volition in a volunteer force. But I also want to add perspective to the 41 million men and women who served. There are countless moms and dads and brothers and sisters who served as well, whose sacrifice was sometimes greater in the heartache and pain and sadness and their departure. And even as we speak now, men and women are abroad in harm's way, and families sit and suffer, sit and worry, and have concern. Veterans are people who currently serve and who have served. I want to share some additional information, students, for you to add some more perspective. According to an online data warehouse called Statista, you probably don't want to look up statistics like this, but it's a reliable source that there are 1.3 million Americans in the course of our history have given their lives in service. 1.3 million Americans. Well, actually, because each life matters, that would be 1,304,704. We can't talk in generalities when we talk about lives and families. These are men and women, husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, boyfriend and girlfriend. Veterans today represent who are actively serving approximately 1.33 million individuals who are active duty in some capacity of service to the Department of Defense. Just over 800,000 of them are serving in reserve duty. So on top of that 1.33, and yes, I heard 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, until it becomes a couple of years on occasion, here and there. All who serve. We currently in our country have approximately 16 to 17 million veterans who walk across our land as we speak. The population of the United States today is approximately 331 million. or 331.9 million. Less than 5% of our population are veterans. Friends, on the floor, you're rare in your willingness to serve. Currently today, we're in uniform, and I thank those who are on active duty with us today. Less than 1% of our population are currently serving. That's actually barely 0.6%. So I'm going to ask a question for perspective. Mrs. Pershaw teaches an American Heritage class, which is great. And I checked the rolls, there's about 17 students in that class. So Mrs. Pershaw's American Heritage class, please stand up, wherever you are. If you are, stand up, be proud. Look around, standing. If you're out there, we'll sure we get to stay standing though. I'll tell you this, it's a little bit hard to see them in this crowd, right? Proportionally, those few individuals represent those who serve today. Young men and women in the crowd, I wonder, you can sit down if you like, sorry. I wonder if you thought about how proud you are to serve in this, to live in this country. I certainly am, and I meant what I said, that I am proud to be an American. I am so proud of the United States of America. For all its warts, we have some glory. We have so much to be thankful for. And what I would challenge you, young men and women, who are in the bleachers now, this is not a recruitment, but really a time for you to reflect on Veterans Day. Will you be on this floor someday? Hear me. Are you one of the 17 in this room who are going to represent the glory that represents in that flag that has stood the test of time for 248 years? Veterans Day is an awesome time for us to celebrate and to feel celebrated. It's also a time, men and women, young ladies and gentlemen, for you to reflect, if not me, then who? And as I look at a generation ahead, and I think of American Heritage class, and as I look out, who is going to wear the uniform to protect my freedoms into the future? If not you, then who? With that, I am so proud to be an American. I'm so proud to work in this school system, to live in Lebanon, Missouri, where we are honored as Americans. And so with that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Schmitz. Thank you, veterans, for coming to our assembly today. Thank you, students, for being quiet and respectful throughout our assembly. Now, taps is going to be played, and there is to be no talking after it is finished.
Veterans, by my command, attention. Breathe in, march.
Now I ask that everybody please stand and remain silent as the colors are displayed. Thank you. You may be seated. We want to thank everyone for attending the 2023 Veterans Day Assembly. Community guests are welcome to exit through our lobby. Students, please remain seated until further instructions.